How would you like to get more power on your forehand? I know a lot of players out there that are struggling with it, that are curious about where those power leaks are coming from, how to fix them, how to get to the next level with their forehand. We're going to solve that in today's video. My name is Jeff Salzenstein, founder of Tennis Evolution, former top 100 ATP player, USTA high performance coach, and boy, am I passionate about helping players regardless of level or age. In this video, we're going to go over that forehand first. To get more power on the forehand, I want you to get the right grip. And I'm a big fan of the semi-Western grip. Now, many of you out there might have an Eastern grip, and it works for you. I do feel like power is limited. So what we want to do is we want to get the racket in this position right here, where the knuckle is on this bevel, okay? And that's really, really important. Many people have the knuckle on this bevel, and I feel it makes it more difficult to get the power that you need. So we want that knuckle on this bevel. Semi-Western for me is ideal for maximum power. Again, you can do it with an Eastern. Obviously, Roger Federer and Del Potro, they have plenty of power. But for recreational players out there, I think it's better to try to get to a semi-Western. Now, yes, if you have an Eastern forehand, we're still going to talk about how that can work for you. But my preferred power source is the semi-Western. It can work both ways. Now, you've got that grip. You also want to make sure that you have your hand spread, or I should say your fingers spread, especially that index finger. You also want to make sure you have the heel of the hand off of the racket. These are two common problems that many coaches don't point out. I see a lot of people holding the racket like this, and it's way too stiff in the hand. When you have the fingers together and you have the heel of the hand too high up. I've got a player that I'm helping right now. He's 14, and we've been trying. He's got a good forehand, and we're trying to get him to hold the racket lower so that we can see the heel of the hand. The lower you are, the more play you're going to have in your hand, the more leverage you're going to have to be able to accelerate that racket at the right moment. The more choked up you are, the stiffer you're going to be. The more that you have this block grip, the stiffer you're going to be. So it is absolutely essential to hold the racket correctly. And many players come out, committed adult players come out on the court, and they wonder why they don't have enough power on their forehand. And they don't realize the grip is having a massive impact, absolutely massive impact. You've got to have the correct grip. Hold that racket correctly, and you've got a chance to have a great forehand. Now, a powerful forehand, I should say. When you have this index finger spread, what happens is when it's spread, it allows the hand to do this a little more feel. You'll notice that I can just let the hand go when the fingers are spread. When they're locked like this, it's harder to accelerate. So you want to have that index finger spread, and you'll be able to let that hand go a little bit more. So the next way to get more power is you start in your ready position, and when you make the first move, you want to feel like the tip of the racket is up like this. Some people hold it like this with the elbow out. Other people are a little bit higher with the elbow in a little bit more. But we want the racket tip up, because if you take the racket back down like this right away, you're losing the ability to drop the racket and accelerate. You're losing the ability to start slow and accelerate. As soon as you start here, you have to kind of muscle the ball a little bit more. You have to use a little bit more body. That's a little old school, take the racket back and rotate into the shot. Here we start with the racket up, so we have this racket. It's just this light weight here that's sitting here in my hand with the tip up, and then it can drop into the ball, drop into the hit. So we've got the grip, we've got the first move. The tip of the racket is up like this, very, very important. And then we want to make sure that we have very little tension in the hand. On a scale of 1 to 10, I like to be at about a 3. So when I swing the racket, I want to be loose in my hand and just let my hand go. If I'm gripping really tight, I can't swing as quickly. I can't accelerate as much. So having a loose grip tension is very, very important. So you want to be aware. You always want to be shaking out your hand in between points. And then when I make this first move, you'll notice that I'm not gripping the racket tight when I make this move. It's pretty light in my hand. It's pretty loose. And if I hold this offhand on the racket right here like this in the beginning, it actually allows me to be looser with this hand. If I separate early, which isn't wrong, some players do this. I actually prefer it if I'm late on the forehand. But if I go here, I just have to be aware that I'm not squeezing too tight with my hand. Now, obviously this first move with the racket tip up, it also helps on the first move to have this off arm pull across. This will allow you to create that stretch between your shoulders and your hips before you go ahead and hit the ball. So instead of going like this and having no shoulder turn, or maybe turning sideways like this and having no stretch between the shoulders and the hips, then if you're doing those things, you're going to struggle more with power. So this is the key, is to make sure when you make this move, you have the hips at this angle here, and then you have a nice shoulder turn in this position. Whether you step in or whether you stay open stance, it will allow your body to work more naturally. So I'm a big fan of getting the body to work in an effortless way. So we haven't even talked about loops or dropping into the ball or hitting it yet. We just covered the grip and that first move, because many people don't hold the racket correctly and they don't make a great first move and they have too much tension. Okay, so we've set the stage for creating more power in the forehand with the grip and the first move. Now, as we move into contact, one analogy I like to use is what I call skipping the rock. Have you ever gone to a lake and you just skip the rock across the lake? Well, you'll notice that the hand and the arm go back like this, kind of like a forehand, right? And then you skip and you release right here. So I like to create that analogy for my players, that they release the rock or skip the rock. And you have to do it at the right time. You have to have the right amount of relaxation so that you can accelerate. And when players learn this, that's where the power comes from. This move with the racket tip up, and I skip the rock. But I have to do it with minimal tension in the hand. You cannot squeeze tight and do this. Many players struggle with this concept of tension. They grip the racket way too tight. They're muscling the ball and they're forcing it. So how do you get the tension out of the body and out of the hand? I like to catch the racket at the end. Some coaches don't agree with it. They think you should never catch the racket. You just go over the shoulder or you just finish right here. But what I find is that if you catch the racket and actually practice catching it in the throat, okay? Don't catch the racket down here. A lot of people catch it down here. And people say, well, why is that a problem? Because when you finish here, it doesn't create enough space. You're too jammed. So if you catch the racket in the throat, you actually create more space, and that also will help you create more power. If you have more space, then you'll get more what? Extension. So you're going to create that space at the end by catching the racket in the throat. And look how much space I have here. Again, almost like I'm holding a beach ball at the end. I'm not in this position scrunched. A lot of people swing and they finish here. You can see all the tension. We want the shoulders dropped. Notice my shoulders. My shoulders stay low. They don't scrunch up when I swing or when I finish. Shoulders stay low, and then I finish and I catch the racket on the throat. And when I do that, I can actually take the racket out of the hand like I just demonstrated. So when I swing, if I take it out of the hand, how much tension is left in the hand? Zero, because I'm not holding it anymore. So if you do this a few times, it will remind you to stay loose with your hand when you swing. And this is so important, to be loose in the hand when you swing. Catch the racket, relax. If you don't catch the racket, just be aware of having minimal grip tension. You can even wiggle your fingers at the end. So to summarize, I want you to focus on getting the correct grip, ideally a semi-Western. If you have an Eastern grip, by the way, you can still do this. You just have to make sure, again, you have to make sure that you stay really loose and you skip that rock. You just might not have as much rotation as if you have a semi-Western grip. But as I said, the goal here is to get the correct grip, to get the correct first move where you pull this arm across for the shoulder turn that you need, and you get the tip of the racket up before you skip the rock at contact. When you skip the rock, you have to make sure you have minimal tension. When you catch the racket at the end, you can take the hand off the racket to remind yourself to reduce tension. Remember, power in the forehand comes from optimal technique and optimal relaxation. You get those two things right, and you're in business with your forehand. Hopefully you enjoyed this video today. We broke down how to get more power on the forehand. I know that if you go out on the court and you try these tips, your forehand will improve. I guarantee it. Really passionate about helping you. Thanks so much for taking the time to tune in today. Make sure you click the link in the description below to get more free tennis tips, more free information from Tennis Evolution. My name is Jeff Salzenstein. We really appreciate you. Go ahead and comment and ask any questions below. We'll be sure to answer them for you. And like this video, gives it a thumbs up. Make sure that you subscribe to our channel. And again, somewhere in this video, there should be a place where you can click as well to get more free tips. We want to help you get better at tennis. Thanks so much for your time today. We'll see you at the next lesson. Thank you.